Hi, I'm Aaliyah.
And I'm Hav. Welcome to Mom Files, Moments of Motherhood podcast, the place where the messy, hard, and honest parts of momming get to exist without shame.
If you're a mom, you'll find realistic routines, gentle validation, and maybe a few new things to try. Think of us as your village, a judgment-free corner of motherhood.
We're so glad you're here.
Welcome back. I'm Aaliyah.
And I'm Hav.
Just the thought of having a new baby can be really scary, but then for some of us, those fears become reality. I didn't even mean the obvious ones. I mean the quiet, irrational, very real ones that show up in the middle of the night fears. I know, like, even the ones like when you're driving or you're just doing anything every day, honestly, because that's where a lot of my fears started coming up. But you're normal for being scared of all these fears, especially when it comes to having a baby and being a mom. And so that's what we want to talk about today is just some of the common fears you might experience, our own experiences, and then maybe some tips if you are kind of experiencing those same thoughts and whatnot. So I thought we would kind of jump in first, just going over some of the common fears of having a newborn. One of them is like, I think this is a big one a lot of people struggle with is like, what if I don't know what my baby needs? I was definitely worried about this. Like, I thought I was going to be second guessing everything. And like, I felt like I didn't even know if I was going to know when they were going to cry. Did you feel like you experienced that with that common fear? Like, or do you feel like you had that common fear?
It's so funny because I feel like with Azzy, when I was pregnant with her, I was just so like, I don't know. I didn't think I was going to have a lot of the fears. Like when I was pregnant, I was like, everybody's like, oh, what are you worried about? I was like, nothing. Like, I don't know. I have a lot of nieces and nephews, which like, even if you helped raise, I will say like, you helped raise other babies, not the same thing. But honestly, no, I was so like, just like chill before Azzy came as far as like what baby needs. I also think I was mentally struggling with like myself, that it just was like an afterthought. When she got here, that was different. I will say that was like, that all changed. And I think it's almost like kind of the same, but different with Jiraiya is like, I am worried about all these things, but I also know that like, I don't think there's much that I can do to prepare for it, but.
Right. No, and I agree. And like some other common fears I will say, just to kind of jump into them, is like, what if I can't soothe my baby? What if I regret, or what if I'm doing everything wrong? I know that was a big one. I know the soothing the baby thing was a little more of a fear for me, just because I felt like, I was like, what if they never stop crying? Like, because, if you get like a colic baby or something, like it can be hard when it feels like you're responsible for fixing every cry, even if that's not always the case. And we'll get into that more, but yeah.
I will say that was like, for me, it wasn't necessarily like, well, what if I can't soothe my baby? It was like, yes, what if I can't soothe my baby? But what if my baby won't stop crying and I can't calm myself down?
Oh, yeah.
What am I going to do? Because especially being like young and like taking care of other kids and you hear them like, not even just babies, but like when the younger kids don't listen and you just like get so like pent up. That was one of my things, like, not that I thought I was going to hurt my baby, but like, how am I going to be able to like calmly do things?
Yeah. Yeah. I'm actually glad you brought that up because that wasn't on our list of commons, but I guarantee you that's a common feeling because I definitely was concerned about that. Like, I think that was always my fear of becoming a parent. It wasn't so much about dealing with them. It was like, am I going to be able to deal with myself dealing with them? And so I love that point. And then the last one is just kind of like, what if, like you regret this or feel trapped? And I know like for me, I was nervous. I was like, what if I regret having kids? Like, what if, like, because I had the fears of potentially never wanting to be a mom. So like I said, there was a lot of identity shock, loss of freedom. We've talked about it before. And so I think those are valid fears to have, even if you end up not feeling that in, once they get here, because I don't feel like that at all. But I think a lot of people forget or don't want to talk about feeling that way sometimes.
I'll say that for somebody who wanted to have kids and knew that she wanted, like, I knew I wanted a family. Mine was, what if I regret doing this now? What if I regret not waiting? So it might come in different shades. It might not come at all. It really might not, but it really might, and you might not expect it.
And like I said, I think it's worth mentioning because I don't think it means you don't love your kids any less and stuff, but I think they're valid fears. yeah, let's just kind of get into, our personal experiences then. Like, do you kind of want to start just because I feel like obviously you had it with Azzy, but maybe you have some new fears with Jiraiya?
Yeah. Like I said, I think for like when I was pregnant with her, it was a lot of like, I just know that there's not much I can prepare for. I think a lot of my fear started when she came, when she was a newborn.
Yeah.
Fear that she wasn't like I wasn't going to be a good mom. I think I've talked about this in one or more episodes before about how Tony was the only one that could soothe her for a while. I was so scared that I was like, especially when he went back to work, that I wasn't going to be able to like calm her down and like just like she wasn't going to like get that from me, especially being somebody who was like so attached to her mom. I was like, oh my God, like this isn't going to work. So that was a big fear. And then there's so much that I think comes and goes with what people are telling you need to do and whatnot. And we've got into that so many times. So I'm not even going to dive that deep into that. But I just think there's like a fear for me, like wanting her to nurse and being so scared about nipple confusion and then not introducing a bottle and then introducing a bottle too late and being scared that she would never be able to eat if I had to leave her with somebody. There's just like so many little things that like if you just like, and we got past that. We gave her a straw. She drank out of a straw cup and that was fine. And there's just like so many things that like you just learn to adjust with. But I think, yeah, I remember when I was trying to figure out her cries and thinking I was a horrible person because everybody says you'll learn their cries. You'll know what a cry is for milk and you'll know what a cry is for being tired and you'll know the difference between cries. One cry sounds like this and one cry sounds like that. I don't know if it's bullshit or if it's just me, but I never learned the cries. I could not tell you. I spent hours every night trying to like figure out her cries.
I also never. I was like, oh, crying, you need like one of three things. We'll just start down the list and eventually one will solve it.
Which is the great thing about babies, like newborns, is they really need one of three things. And if they're not nursing and they're still crying, they don't need a diaper change and they don't need to. Unfortunately, sometimes they do just cry, and that was really hard for me. So I think those were some things. And then a big one I know I've talked about, but her not eating. I think that's the biggest one. Is like they need to eat and they need to sleep and they need to poop. Right? They need to have like the three main things. I've talked about this. She was older with this when she wasn't a newborn. She had no trouble eating when she was a newborn, but not latching. And like the fear of like knowing they need to eat and them not latching. And a lot of that I feel like, at least for me, was getting out of my own head and like just giving her 5 minutes probably would have helped. I took her outside. We both calmed down and she ended up latching, but like that was terrifying for me. So I think, yeah, there's a lot of things that like came up that I was researching in the middle of the night or like freaking out about or whatever. For me, I didn't think about them until like she was here. Yep.
Yeah. I mean, these are all common fears or not common fears, but they're all fears. And I think it's common to have fears is what I was trying to say. And that they can evolve, like for me personally, like it started right when I found out I was pregnant. I was so scared and things like that. And then breastfeeding, I'm glad you brought that up, made me really nervous is like one, not him being able to latch, but I was also really nervous about my milk supply not coming in. Like I know that like in the hospital and then that first week or so, I just remember being like so certain, like I'm gonna do this. But I was nervous that I'm like, it wasn't gonna, happen. Something else that for me that I felt was really common that like once he got here, all the extra fears, like dropping him after like being in the shower, giving him a breath or walking down the stairs and it happening or something bad happening while we're in the car. Like that is really too where my fears started hiking. And so that was kind of hard for me. It was like, cause I already had some anxiety and I felt it just really heightened my anxiety.
Yeah, I totally agree there. I will say with the breastfeeding, I was actually not, before she came, I was never nervous about breastfeeding. Every woman in my family did it and had such good success, which does not necessarily mean that I was going to, but then I was in the hospital and she dropped like the normal amount of weight and they were like, you need a supplement and then all of a sudden now I'm scared that she's not getting what she needs. And I think a lot of it is fear mongering from outside. Like, the sleep stuff, right? Like once I got over having her sleep with me in a safe way, there's a difference, obviously. But like it was so much better. And I know she fell off the bed.
So
She
is
did.
Dash.
So, like, let me just put that out there.
Yep.
Mistakes have been made, but, like,
Yep.
but no, seriously. And I'm not saying, like, should I have had her up on the bed? I should have just went to a floor bed sooner. But, like, there's just so much fear mongering and stuff. And, like, if you know what you need to do for your sanity and stuff, just research how to do it the right way, kind of thing. But yeah, the breastfeeding, the car seat, the car was so hard for us. The nap schedules. Do we let her sleep in the car? Do we not let her sleep in the car? Stuff like that.
For the breastfeeding, just to add on, I think too, for me, I think a lot of people too don't give themselves enough time to let it come in because, yeah, I just remember my doctor being like, be patient. Like, I know it can be hard. It can feel really unmotivating and like you're doing all this work and nothing's happening. And I did feel that. And all of a sudden it just like came. And so I do think that's something too that like if you are getting discouraged, to just give yourself and in the same, it still might not happen, but I think it's worth giving yourself a chance because I was really nervous about it and I'm glad I stuck with it just because it can be easy to feel like you should quit early.
Well, it's kind of crazy because they made me feel that way too with the first day. They're like, you're going to have to co-feed, like you're going to have to formula feed. And she hadn't even cluster fed yet. So it was like the first day. And I remember being so scared. And Aaliyah, you remember how much milk I had? Like I was like overproducing on day 2. Like it was crazy. So I think it really is just how quickly they're like, because of course we want baby to be fed and fed is best. Absolutely. So if you need a formula feed, even if you decide that nursing is just not right for you, it's too stressful, whatever, that's totally okay. But if you want to do it and it's important to you, I definitely think just like breathing. And thankfully for me, I had a lactation consultant come in and I immediately just started asking her questions. And she was like, I don't know what they're talking about. Your milk hasn't even had time to come in. She's a healthy weight. I'll go get you formula if it makes you feel good. But like, and I was in the hospital for 48 hours and I came home and my breasts were engorged and I had a pump to like relieve pressure. So like, that might not be your story. Aaliyah's was a little different, had to be a little more patient than I was, but it really is like kind of take a deep breath and take a moment.
It's just worth noting because like Hob said, you don't have to do it. But if it is something you're passionate about and you're nervous about, I think time is important. Do you have a podcast and about 4 minutes of free time? Are you editing during nap time, answering emails at midnight, or wondering how your podcast became a second full-time job?
But you don't need to do it all. You need back-end support. That's why we offer podcast editing and post-production for busy moms who have something to say, but no time for audio, show notes, or scheduling. You record, we handle the rest.
Close your eyes and imagine fewer late nights and way less tech stress. If that sounds good, check the link in the description and book a free discovery call. Just a quick chat to see if we're a good fit.
Because podcasting should feel fun, not like another thing on your already really full plate.
And so I think with that, let's just kind of get into maybe some other tips on if you are feeling a little nervous. I know, just I guess to kind of relay onto that, it's lower your expectations. You know, sometimes we are so quick to wanting everything happening instantly and trying to figure it out quickly. And honestly, for me, comfort came with repetition, like not being perfect. Like I know learning how to be a mom, it was like the more I did it, I just felt comfortable. And so like I look back to a year ago and I'm like, it's crazy how much more comfortable I feel today or even 6 months ago than I did then. And so that is definitely something that I'm like, it's okay to give yourself grace and it's new. Like, especially if it's something you're learning. So yeah, give yourself grace. We're all different. And so yeah, I think lowering your expectation can be really important.
I absolutely agree. And I think that's why I'm like mentally so much just like more like calm with the second one. And people said that to me. They're like, your second one's just easier just because you're gonna know that like really like it just like honestly doesn't matter. Like you're gonna know what does matter and what doesn't matter. And both you and I are both parents that are honestly very calm when it comes to our babies and like what they need and stuff. So like, I can only imagine what some moms who are, and don't get me wrong, high anxiety, but, like, there's just certain things, like, we're not running to the hospital for every little thing and stuff. So I can only imagine what some, like, super high anxiety moms are feeling, and ones who don't have support systems, like, your mom is helpful, my sisters are helpful, my mother-in-law's, all that good stuff, but I definitely think that's a great, great point, is lowering your expectations and giving yourself time to learn, because stuff changes so often, and it's gonna take you're gonna find a solution, and then things are gonna change, and you're gonna think you're crazy because, like, why did what I just figure out not work? And unfortunately, every, like, 2 to 4 months, you're gonna have to figure out something. Pretty much, I felt like as soon as I figured something out, it worked for, like, a couple weeks, and then I was like, "Why isn't this working?" Sleep, feeding, all of the things. It gets better when they get older because, like, the changes happen, like, a little further apart, but I think that's something, is, like, life is life, and breathe.
I think us as parents, something that we just need to accept and put on our resumes is we're problem solvers, and you're
Yeah.
constantly solving new problems. Because the thing is even Hov's about to have her second kid and go through the newborn. I guarantee you what worked for Azzy, some things might work, but a lot of them won't. And so it's like we're always problem solving. Yeah, because even though the phases changes, even if you repeat phases, they're probably still different. So I love that because, yeah, I think it's just one of those things you kind of have to accept. It's like, it's just being life.
For you corporate girlies, if you need we're dealing with ambiguity every day.
Yeah. And I think too, a tip that actually kind of helped me, and just because we mentioned the fear of like the crying and stuff, is I think too, to remind yourself, is crying it's a form of communication. Like, it doesn't mean that you're doing everything wrong. It's they're trying to tell you something and communicate with you. And I think sometimes looking at it as it's not always an emergency and they're just trying to tell you something can kind of help you breathe and just remove some pressure and be like, okay, like it's okay. Like, they're just trying to talk to you. Because I know for me, sometimes it felt like every time you cried, it was like, oh, you need something, right? You can be so quick to panic. And yeah, sometimes it's like, it's okay. It's not just a failure. They're just talking
Yeah.
to you. Yeah.
I think it can be very overstimulating no matter what. So if you can kind of teach yourself to cope with it, a crying baby is an alive baby. So it's a good thing.
100%. Other than that, that was kind of my tips. Hob, did you have any others before we kind of wrap up?
I mean, I think, the dealing with ambiguity, like, take things as they come. I think something that I focused on a lot that was stressful for me was, like, thinking about, like, the whole day. Now I am a planner, so I'm still gonna think about what affects what, but I think one good one that we've talked about is focusing on the next 10 minutes or, like, the next 15 minutes. And sometimes in that note, like, stopping what you're doing and coming back 10 minutes later. Like, if you were like me and sleep was a big stressor, like, stop trying to get them to sleep for 15 minutes, reset, and come back. My motto became, is anybody dying? No? Okay, we're doing good. So I think, yeah, just reset, give yourself a break. If you need to step away, take those calming breaths. Regulating yourself regulates the baby. Yeah.
I love that. Yeah. Take moments for yourself. If you need to reset, start over the next day. We're not all perfect. I think it's a reminder that so many of the fears of having a newborn, it's because you care. And that's a good thing. So, especially if this is your first baby and you are entering this new chapter, just remember, like, you aren't meant to feel perfectly confident. It's new. You're just beginning your journey. So give yourself some grace as always. Yeah, I think that's it. Hav, any final thoughts?
No, I think if you're worried, that makes you a good mom. So,
Mhm.
like, just remember, you're a good mom. Or that's it.
Yeah.
And that's it for today's episode. Thank you for hanging out with us. And if this episode made you feel a little less alone, send it to a mom friend who might need it too.
Yeah. And if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button, leave a review. It helps other moms find the show. So until next week, we will be chatting all about questions that you guys have sent us over emails and just end of the season. So we look forward to chatting then. And with that, remember to keep the kids alive and your coffee hot or at least reheated once. Bye.
Bye.